Senator Ted Cruz has earned a rebuke from Texas's largest newspaper after he made some statements about the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. On Saturday, the Houston Chronicle wrote an editorial about these comments, calling them an attempt to, quote, vilify, inflame, and divide. Wow, those must have been some statements by Ted Cruz. Let me read them for you. He took to Twitter / X, whatever you want to call it, and said this. Leftism is a mental disease. The suspected murderer, an Ivy League graduate, subscribed to an anti-capitalist and climate change causes, according to law enforcement, and the murder has been widely celebrated by leftists online. Tragic and sick. Okay, so this is LDS, right? It's leftist derangement syndrome. So kind of a new thing, but actually a pretty old phenomenon. It's been happening for quite some time because Republicans see anything and they're like, radical leftists. It's the radical leftists. It's the radical leftists' fault. It's all the radical leftists. You even have some Democrats, that have been beating up on the radical far left leftists. And it's pretty funny because leftists have absolutely no institutional power or power whatsoever. And I guess it makes us the perfect whipping voice for, your own mistakes. I mean, Kamala Harris ran a very centrist conservative campaign, okay, traveling around with, Mark Cuban and Liz Cheney. And somehow some of these same dumbbells are saying like, see, she was too woke, she was too leftist, and therefore that's why she lost against Donald Trump. It's ridiculous. It would be funny if it wasn't so damaging to this country. Okay. But getting back to the whole point, right? Was it the left that's celebrating the murder of Brian Thompson? No doubt there were some people out there that did celebrate it, but it ain't just on the left, all right? Turns out this is one of the things that kind of unites the right and the left. Basically having no sympathy for Brian Thompson. Not really celebrating murder. Again, some did, okay? But I think most people were like, I'm sorry, I don't really have a lot of sympathy for this. I mean, yeah, I don't condone murder and all that, but let's just say that my sympathy is currently out of network. Okay, it really, the reaction shows you this really was not a left or right issue. Everyone is impacted by health insurance. Turns out we as human beings, by the virtue of just being alive, fleshy blood bags with muscle and bone, we kind of need health care. It's kind of like a requirement, all right? So we're all affected by health insurance denials, all right? I guess unless you happen to be, taking insurance donor money and are very, very wealthy, then maybe you're not so affected, okay? That you could just pay out of pocket or just pay to fly somewhere else and get healthcare, in one of those socialist countries that you always decry. But anyway, here's the thing, though. What's scaring the establishment, people like Ted Cruz and members of the media elite, is that you have some Republican voters that have started to figure out something that leftists have already known all along. That, hey, wait a minute. There are people out there who want us to fight each other so they can pick our pockets while we're distracted. Yeah. And how do they distract us? Through wedge issues, through identity politics. Now, in this case, I just mentioned Kamala Harris. She didn't run on any of that stuff. She ran on freedom, liberty, protecting democracy. All that stuff's very important, by the way. I like freedom. I like liberty. I like democracy. All are good things. But, she ran on those things. She did not, however, run on woke. Okay? She did not run on trans liberation or black liberation or land back or anything like that. right? Any of the stuff that some people would consider to be crazy, right? No, she didn't run any of that. Okay. There were some, yeah, good policies, tax credits and things like that, that are generally, your democratic fare, which actually a lot of these policies work pretty well. So it made a lot of sense for her to run on these things, but she didn't run on the vote. All right. Who ran on identity issues? Who ran on wedge issues? Republicans. Of course. Republicans ran on anti-trans hysteria. Yes. But that is not why Donald Trump had won. Oh, no, 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 no. It turns out when you asked voters what their most important issues were, trans issues didn't really register. Not all that high. Turns out it was jobs in the economy, the cost of living. Oh. A lot of people really cared about that. Now, that said, healthcare, I think, is a part of that. Okay. But neither side really spoke much about healthcare during this campaign. So, getting back to Ted Cruz, right? He's out there doing the I can't believe the left hates insurance CEOs. Bro, most people do not like CEOs, okay? I mean, as if, overpaid executives that are essentially middlemen who set policy that denies care at record levels in order to personally enrich themselves, as if those people deserve our love and undying respect. What? No, of course they don't. Now, it doesn't mean that they deserve to be murdered, right? But they certainly don't deserve our respect. And honestly, healthcare shouldn't be a for-profit model. Nobody should be profiting off of denials of care. Like, that's a really effed up position to have in any society. And yet we have normalized it. We've allowed it in our society for far too long. Now, that said, getting back to the details here, remember United Health, speaking of claims, right, denied about a third of them, 32%. And when it came to elderly Medicare Advantage patients, okay, these are people who are 65 and older, all right, they were denied 90% of the time. 90% of all claims. They said it was by a faulty AI model put in by CEO Brian Thompson. Yeah. So if you've ever had an issue with your insurance company, I mean, it's, if you've had a problem, you would know what we're talking about. If you've never had this problem, either you've never had to use your insurance, so you've never been through this, costly denial process where you have to spend time on the phone arguing with the insurer, all that stuff, or you were paid off. You're a bitch like Ted Cruz, who takes money from the health insurance industry. I'm just saying. Now, regular people, again, when Thompson was shot, didn't react with outrage. Okay? Not excusing it, but they're also like, yeah, I kind of get it. Most people condemned it and then went on to share their horror stories of being denied necessary medical care while these executives get rich. Thompson made $10 million a year. So trying to paint this as a left versus right thing, it's pretty ridiculous when you look at the people who are actually doing it, though. Okay? Because the people who are doing it, it's almost always super wealthy people in media and politics. They've got great healthcare or they have great insurance. And so they don't have to worry about, losing their healthcare, losing their money. But here though was interesting because we actually have a media outlet that's bucking the trend. This was the newspaper's editorial board. Okay. Saying this. This week, he leapt into the swirling headlines around the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson and suspect Luigi Mangione by doing what he does best, flattening complex issues and people into sound bites or social media posts that vilify, inflame, and divide. They added that Cruz's point about being tragic and sick has some merit, not just because celebrating murder can be tragic and sick, but because some of the people doing it apparently had their own experiences with tragedy and sickness that healthcare denials only exacerbated. Blaming the vengeful anger on leftism? Cruel health insurance practices in this country are their own kind of disease. Cruz could help heal it if he wanted, but that would require doing his job. And, well,
can't let that happen.
Healthcare lobbyists, specifically, would never allow that to happen. Remember, United Health Group alone donated over $100 million since 1998 to ensure that the United States does not join the rest of the modern world in guaranteeing healthcare to all of its citizens. So, Ted Cruz, you can only surmise that he does not see his job as bringing healthcare to everyone. He sees his job as defending the status quo that gets 68,000 people a year killed. That's it. His job is to distract us with a bogus left versus right narrative. Now, I'm not saying there isn't legit differences between the left and right. Oh, there are. Absolutely. Things like trans rights, for example. Oh, huge differences. Huge differences. And other things. But when it comes to basic things that we need to survive, like food, healthcare, yeah, we're actually a lot more alike than we are different. It's just the 1% and their lackeys like Cruz do everything in their power to make sure we never find that out. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.